Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V. I have been a practicing witch for the last 25 or more years, heavy on the or more, and I am very aware that a lot of you guys are just starting out on your witchcraft journeys. I've got a lot of views from new practitioners on a couple of my witchy videos recently, and so I thought it might be useful for you guys to learn how to do a basic protection spell. You'll find that a lot of witches will tell you shouldn't do any kind of magic without doing a protection spell first. For me personally, I don't subscribe to that. I think that there are lots of spells that you can do without needing to do a protection spell first. And if your general protection spells and long-lasting wards are in place and maintained, you probably don't need to do it for anything except for baneful magic, I would say. But a lot of traditions do believe, particularly a lot of Wiccan traditions believe, that you do need to do a protection spell before doing any kind of spell work. And so I thought I'd run you through a couple of really quick, simple ones that you can do. And then I'll also talk you through a couple of protection wards for your house, how to make them, how to maintain them, and what ones are a bit too advanced and you should probably leave alone for a little while. Now in this video I am going to be talking to you a little bit about some of the wards and protection spells that I have in my home, but I'm not going to tell you all of them, and there is a very good reason for that. If you went out and bought yourself a brand new burglar alarm with all the high-tech stuff that's going to protect every inch of your house, you wouldn't go around and tell everybody on the internet what the code for that alarm is. It would render it completely useless. And for that reason, a lot of witches keep silent about the specifics of our protection spells or what ones we do. I've been practicing for long enough that I've got all sorts of different protection spells dotted all around my house, so I can tell you lots of them and it isn't going to affect my sort of magical security, if you will. But if you're just starting out and you've just got the one protection spell, don't tell anybody exactly what you did on it, because it just makes it much easier to undo. Of course, most people are not trying to do baneful magic on you. Most people are not magic users. Most of the magic users that are probably aren't going to be bothering with cursing you and things like that. But in just opening up and telling everybody the security details of your magical protection system makes it less secure in general. And so for that reason, always keep your protection spells on the down low. Never tell anybody exactly everything that you're doing, unless of course you are trying to teach somebody how to do a protection spell for themselves, in which case you probably wouldn't be watching this video. If you've reached the stage in your practice where you are teaching somebody else, then you probably wouldn't be here on a beginner's level sort of video. Now you can go really elaborate with a protection spell if you want to. You can build one using your sort of ritual building blocks that you are used to, that you use for your other spells. And you can make it really big and elaborate if that is something that you want to do. And if it will help you feel safe as well, then it's a great idea to do something like that. But a protection spell really doesn't have to take very long, and it doesn't have to be very elaborate or use lots and lots of ingredients or anything like that. In fact, one of the simplest protection spells that I know of, that is also one of the oldest protection spells that I know of, just involves 4 iron nails. And they can be like floor nails from your home. They can be, you know, old rusty nails that you found somewhere. They don't have to be brand new nails that have been made for or bought for just this purpose. They don't have to match each other. Iron, I would say, matters. Some people would say the metal doesn't matter. But iron has in folklore and traditions always been used as protection against like fairy things, fae things, demonic things, and other magic users as well. And so iron is a good material for that reason. If you really can't find iron, you can use something else, and you can just tell it has the properties of iron. That is the beauty of setting your intentions with your spell ingredients. We love that. I did manage to find iron nails for mine. And you want to take 4 of them and you want to hammer them into the corners of your property. So you could hammer them into the floor of your actual house in each 4 corner of your home, or you could include your outside space in that as well. And so that is what I did. I have got 2 in my front garden, 2 in my back garden, so they create a sort of square around my property. When you're putting those nails in, don't be gentle about it. Really bang them in, because if you think about it, what you're doing is using them as sort of fence posts for an energetic fence around your property. And so those fence posts need to be strong. We're not tickling them in like that. We're banging them into the ground or the fence or a tree that's on your property, ask the tree first maybe. And you know, you're really hammering it in because this has to be solid. You're building an energetic fence over it. If it pleases you to do it, you can sprinkle those with salt as well, or even go on a line around your property, sprinkling a little bit of salt. If you are doing it outside, don't go too overboard with the amount of salt that you use, because salt is a desiccant. It will remove moisture from your soil. It will kill any plant life there. It will kill any insect life there. The insects are needed for the birds. You know, there's a whole interconnected cycle going out there that you don't want to mess up by pouring lots and lots of salt on it. Okay. During wars in ancient times, they would salt the earth to stop people from being able to grow food, because salt kills everything, which is why it's great in a protection spell. It purifies, it protects, it kills off any negative energies, and that's great. But for that reason, you don't want to be pouring masses and masses of it into your garden unless you've got some kind of vendetta against nature, I suppose. Salt has been used as the basis for protection spells for centuries, and that is why actually you see so many witches, especially new witches and TikTok witches, using lots and lots of salt in their spells. I think it's a very bad idea in something like a money bowl, where you want something to grow and thrive. Maybe a little tiny pinch for a bit of purification at the bottom, but any more than that I wouldn't do. I would only focus on putting things that are to do with growth. People use salt as the earth element, as a representation in their correspondences sometimes, and I get it, and I've done it, but I think that it's actually much more effective to use something like flour to represent your earth element, because it's about growth, it's grains, it is the prosperity of the land. When you're trying to repel something, and that's what we're doing with protection spells, we're repelling negative energy. Salt is useful for that. Salt is for cleaning, it's for purifying, it's for making good again. And so we don't sprinkle it on anything that we want to grow, but we do be using it in protection spells because we want to repel that negative energy. So you can add salt to your bath like once a week or so. It can be a handful of table salt, it can be Epsom salts, it can be bath salts that are all smelling nice and packaged up for your bath. It really doesn't matter, but as long as you do it with intention. So as you're putting that salt into your bath, you're thinking, this is washing away all of the energy that doesn't belong to me, all of the energy that is not for me, all of the energy that is not serving me. And then when you get out of the bath after your soak, you can watch the water go down, and you can visualize all that negative energy, anything that's attached to you that shouldn't be, anything that's not there to do you good, gets washed away with all the other dirt and impurities that came off your skin. That's a really, really good way to just do a simple thing that can be very discreet, especially if you are not able to practice in your home where you are now, where you don't feel safe to practice, you're not very open about it, you may be in the broom closet. Adding a handful of salt into the bath is not an odd thing to do. Lots of people do it for muscle aches and pains as well. It's sort of good for you in that regard. And so that can be a really sort of discreet way to add a little bit of a protection boost to your general day. We can also use that salt in a more specific and channeled ritual though, if you've got some time and space to be doing it. Get yourself a white candle, if you can get a white candle. As with all of the spells, you can substitute any kind of candle that you want to. You can use a tea light, you can use birthday candles, whatever, but small white candle, carve your name on it. If you've used a birthday candle that is too small to carve your name on, you can write it on a piece of paper and put that underneath, or wrap it around your candle. But if you wrap it around your candle, be very, very careful when you're supervising your candle, because as I always say, we don't want you to burn your freaking house down. Okay, with your wrapping paper around a candle, you're creating a fire hazard, so you make sure you do it on a fire safe surface. And again, have some salt nearby for protection, because it's also not flammable, so you can pour that over a flame and it will extinguish it. That is something that you cannot do with flour, by the way. Flour is flammable, and if you try and put out a fire with a bowl of flour, you are going to make your situation much worse. Guess how I know. Once you have got your salt sprinkled around your white candle, your name carved on it, you're going to burn the candle. If you can do it in one go, that's great. I struggle to concentrate on something for as long as it takes a candle to burn out completely though. The little spell candles that you can get on Amazon generally take about an hour and a half, with the white ones sometimes a little bit longer, because coloured candles do burn down quicker. Bear that in mind when you're watching cord cutting videos and going, oh look, that white candle is still burning while this black candle is tiny. That's because the dyes in the candles make them burn down quicker, so white candles do take longer. But that also means that we don't all have time to sit there for an hour and a half and watch a candle burn. And I kind of feel like if you're getting on with doing other things with this kind of spell, it's not as effective. It needs your focus. And so if, like me, you don't have an hour and a half to sit there and watch this candle burn, it will be just as, if not more effective, to do this one over the course of several days. And so you light your candle, you focus on your intention to protect yourself for as long as you can comfortably focus on it. And then you're going to snuff your candle out. And when I say snuff your candle out, I mean use a candle snuffer or lick your fingers, pinch them on the wick of the candle. It will go out. It won't really burn you. Make sure you don't do it with like sleeves like this on. It stops the energy that you've been creating from being blown away. Now, in some spells, blowing the candle and blowing that energy out into the world is actually a good thing, especially when you are asking for a wish. You want, or you're trying to put something out into the universe. You want it to go out into the universe and come back to you. This kind of spell, that's why we blow out birthday candles. We're blowing that wish into the universe. But with this kind of spell, you want the energy to stay here. It's going to wrap around you. It's going to protect you. And so you want to snuff that candle out instead. And you can relight that candle over the course of a few days and just do a little focus on it for a little while. So snuff that candle out and then come back to it the next day, relight it, focus again, just for a little while, snuff it out again, and do that over the course of 7 days. It's going to allow time for that energy to really permeate into your space and for the message to really permeate into your psyche. So salt around your candle. And again, you can use more than you would in a money bowl sort of thing, but you don't need loads and loads and loads. I don't understand where people are getting the money to be wasting this much herbs and spices and salt and food. Salt's fairly cheap nowadays, but it wasn't back in the olden days. Like, salt was very expensive because it was very important, because it protected your food from spoiling over winter and it helped you clean things and it kept disease from your door for that reason, because your food was kept fresh and you didn't have lots of germs running around your house. And so salt is very, very precious. We fling it around like it's not worth anything now, but to our ancestors, that would have been an incredible waste. Okay, you only need a tiny little bit of each ingredient for your spell to work. Now, another really, really easy way to protect yourself in witchcraft is to make friends with your house spirit. And I know that that sounds unrelated, but think about it. You're safe as houses, right? Our home is our safe space. It's our sanctuary. It is our place where we're supposed to be protected from the rest of the world. It protects us from the elements. It protects us from rain. It protects us from cold. It keeps everything that we love safe inside it. And so, and a lot of us just take that for granted. A lot of us just don't even consider that our house is doing all of these things for us. But if we start to show gratitude to our house for those sorts of things, it will be more protective of us. And so it can be daft. At first, you can feel really silly when you're trying to sort of cultivate a relationship with bricks and mortar and cement and asbestos, in my particular case. But it can be as simple as, when you walk in the door, there's nobody else here, go hello, because you're talking to the house. As you leave, cheerio. Sometimes when you're standing there in your nice warm house and you're looking out at the rain pounding down at the windows, just occasionally to say, thank you so much for keeping me dry. Thank you so much for keeping me safe. Have these little chats with your house and it'll start to feel more natural. And then you might even get to the point where you want to leave a little offering for your house. So maybe you're doing some baking and you'll leave one cupcake that's for the house. Or, you know, when you're cleaning and you're thinking to yourself, I don't want to be scrubbing this house right now, it's disgusting. Instead of thinking like that, think to yourself, I'm doing this as a gift for my house because I love her. I'm doing this for you to make you pretty because you deserve to be pretty, house, because I love you. Cultivating this kind of relationship will have a knock-on effect on all sorts of different aspects of your energy. So you might feel more energized, you might feel more rested, you might feel more protected. But look after your house and your house will look after you. Our homes are our first line of defense against absolutely anything. And so it is a really, really good way to do a base protection spell, is asking your home to look after you. And like with any relationship, it's a bit of give and take. If you walk up to somebody for the first time in the street and say, hi, could you help me? They're less likely to say no than if you have, you know, regularly been saying good morning to them and goodbye to them and giving them little gifts from time to time. Of course, they're going to say yes then. And it is the same for your house as well. Now, house energy is made up of the energy of home and a little bit of like Hestia energy, but it's also made up of the energy of people that have lived there before, the experiences that we've had there. And so sometimes you can need to do an energy clearing if you feel like things have been going wrong for a really long time, and maybe you have. Maybe that's why you're looking for a protection spell today. Maybe it just feels like everything's heavy and gnarly and everything that you're trying to do is just hard work all the time. Cleanse the energy in your house. There's lots of different ways to do that, and there's probably a million different videos of how to do that on the internet. But for me, my favorite is to blast my music as loud as I can, have a tidy up at the same time, and sometimes I yell at the energy in my house and tell it to get out of my house. This is my house. And you know, anything where you're making noise, where you're changing up the energy, where you're moving lots, because as we get sad and as things get too heavy for us and as too much is going on and we've got too much, we tend to just sit. As soon as we get home, we sit. The energy pushes us down. We haven't got the brain to do anything. We've just got to get some food on the table, get everybody to bed, flop in front of the TV, doom scroll for hours, pass out with your phone on your face. And that isn't good for you. That stillness that happens when the energy gets too heavy can just be broken by loud music, clanging bells, bashing a saucepan with a wooden spoon and saying, oh, this bad energy, get frick out of my house. You can smoke cleanse if that's what you're into. You can get some incense or some herbs of some kind. You can burn them in your house. I tend to, if I'm trying to clear out energy doing that, I tend to start at my front door, work my way all the way around my house, upstairs and down, and end at the back door. And then we open that back door to let it all out. You can open all the windows out, lets the fresh air in, lets that smoke out, takes that energy with it. But yeah, if you can't do smoke, that is okay. You can do it with sound. You can do it with water. A lot of you make moon water, I think. I make it and then forget I've got it and forget to use it. But occasionally I add it to my bath and it is good. But if you've got some moon water, just water that you've left in a jar on the windowsill on the night of the full moon, you can flick that into the corners of your room. You can put it in a spray bottle and just spray it all over your house, so that you can do a water cleanse. So you smoke cleanse, water cleanse. You can do a fire cleanse. I think that's a little bit dangerous, but I'm a little bit nervous of fire. But that's where you're taking candles or lit flames around to each corner of your house in a very similar way to how you would do it with smoke cleanse for air cleansing. You can do earth cleansing by flicking salt into the corners of the rooms, or by putting little bowls of salt in corners of the rooms to absorb negative energy. Remember to clear that out every now and then. The salt will harden over time as it collects moisture. When it's solid, get rid of it and redo it because it can't absorb anything. So it can't absorb any energy as well as any moisture. And so you can, if you're really feeling it, if you want a complete, this new year I want a complete fresh start with starting over on everything, do all 4 of those. Do sound, smoke, fire, water, earth, that's 5. Do all 5 of those. Do sound, smoke, water, earth, and dancing energy. Like, do all of the things, because you can't over cleanse your house. You know, nothing can be too clean. It's absolutely fine. And once you've done that, then you do one of the protection rituals that I was talking to you about, so that you're not sort of locking that energy in with you. We're going to evict it and then we're going to change the locks. Okay. Now, there are a few more sort of protection spells, and somebody did ask me specifically about one, which was thought forms, because they know I've got a couple of thought forms. I wouldn't recommend a thought form for a beginner or somebody that hasn't been practicing for at least a couple of years, to be honest, because they can be very chaotic and very unpredictable and quite difficult to control. Now, I will do a video about thought forms in the future, because they are fascinating and such a cool and interesting and very old piece of magic that there isn't really a lot of information about online. And so it would be a shame if that knowledge sort of died out. But like I said, it's not really for beginners, and I wouldn't use it as a protection spell for your first sort of protection spell. Doing a thought form is not the one. Any of the ones that I've told you about, adding salt to your bath, the nails to the corner of your property, anything like that is really good for beginners. If you're into that sort of practice, you can do a visualization where you are drawing a line made of light. A lot of people say white light, and I know that this is technically an impossibility, but I would say black light. Imagine black light. I know that's difficult. I don't mean like the UV black light. So I mean like almost a glowing shadow if you can. But if that's too difficult to visualize, stick with your white light and that'll be fine. But generally speaking, for protection, black is better because it absorbs that negativity. Imagine a line all the way around your property or around yourself if it's yourself that you're trying to protect. And then imagine it creates a dome that goes over whatever it is that you're trying to protect, like your home. If you've got your iron nails in, that can be a useful thing. Use it as a sort of fence post to hang that to. And any time that you feel threatened or that you feel your energies are getting too heavy or you feel unsafe, just re-visualize that coming back up over like a shield of protection for you. You can also use visualization when you're out and about, and this can actually be so good for people with anxieties as well, because, or if you're very empathetic and you pick up on the energies of crowds very easily, maybe you had adverse childhood experiences and you became hyper aware of people's facial expressions and always hyper vigilant about how people are behaving around you, and it's becoming too much in a public space. You can also use the suit of armor method, which is where you literally envision yourself wearing a suit of armor made of light. And you can change the color of that light depending on what you are actually frightened of. But again, black or white is a very good one. Silver or gold is also good for suits of armor. And you can also make it reflective so that any energies coming towards you bounce off of you. And one of my friends used to say to me, that's why I envision myself in the gold armor, is so that when this energy comes on and it bounces off and is reflected back to somebody, it changes into a positive energy. It changes into a golden light. It changes into a bit more happiness for you. Because if somebody is putting out a lot of negative energy into the world, it's probably because they need some positive energy. I love that idea. That brings me nicely to my last little thought, which was about transmutation. Transmutation boards are such a good idea because, like I said in a couple of my videos actually, but probably the witchy don'ts, most people don't want to hex you. Most people don't want to curse you, and most people are not having somebody consciously hex or curse them. But we can send people negative energy without meaning to, especially if we're very jealous of the person or envious of what they have, or just don't think that they deserve it as much as we do, really, whatever the it is. We can subconsciously send out negative energy without even being aware that we're doing it. And so for that reason, I like to have a transmutation spell on the go a lot of the time, which means that anybody thinking horrible things about me, saying horrible things about me, or sending negative energy my way, that is getting transmuted. That negative energy at my front door, it gets transmuted into financial prosperity for me. And so we're taking that negative energy and we're turning it into something that's positive and useful for us. And I think that is one of the best kind of protection spells. For that reason, I have in my windows a lot of crystals hanging. They are the kind that sort of refract light. So when the light hits it, it refracts it into lots of different rainbows over my house. And every time the sun comes out, my room gets scattered with rainbows. It cleanses the energy, and I imagine it transmuting any negative energy into those beautiful rainbows for me. And I find that really helps. Some people have asked me if my plants are wards, because I have a lot of plants around and I have them on all of my windowsills and hanging from my windowsills, but I don't use plants or animals as wards. In case you don't know the term, a ward is something that takes a psychic attack for you. It takes the hit for you. It jumps in front of the bullet for you. And so I don't think that we should be using living creatures for that, and plants are living creatures too. Maybe that is why my houseplants used to die all the time, because I was subconsciously using them as wards. I'm not sure. But I would strongly advise against using any living thing as a ward, especially if you don't want it to die. But inanimate objects like crystals and rocks and little statues of things, they can all be wards just fine. And it's literally just a case of tell it what it's for when you put it there. Tell it that it's its job to guard you against jealousy, or it's its job to guard you against financial calamity, or it's its job to guard you against sickness. And be very specific about it. Remember that the universe is like a giant toddler genie, and it is determined to give you exactly what you asked for, so you have to be very specific in the asking. For that reason, I don't like when I see witches using a spell jar for multiple purposes at once. A spell jar should be for one specific purpose. And so if you're chucking one herb in for protection, another one for prosperity, another one for good health, and another one for that, spells are being asked to do a lot of things. Pick one, you can always make another spell. And so don't have one ward whose job it is to guard you from sickness and financial ruin and car accidents and all of the other things. Make separate wards for each of those. They can be very discreet. They don't have to be like something that people would notice. They can even all be on your astral, sort of. They don't have to have a physical thing. But have a different one for each thing so that each thing isn't getting confused. They're very simple things, spells, and so they need a very simple aim for them. So don't be doing, oh, you're going to protect me from this, 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 and this. Have one thing for each thing. So yeah, that is very basic protection spells. I will do more in-depth videos about each of these methods if you would like me to. Just let me know. But those are the basics. That is the basics of how to protect yourself before doing any magical work. If you're doing baneful work, you will need a bit more spicy protection than that. If you're doing harmful magic to people, you will need a bit more protection from that. Because, you know, you're playing with ingredients and forces that are much more powerful, much more dangerous than you would be in most spells. And so you need a bit more PPE for that one. You know, you need to protect yourself a bit better. But for the vast majority of most people's working, those will work just fine as protection spells. If you need something a bit more than that, then you probably need to be studying a bit deeper than going into YouTube videos for it. But for most people's intents and purposes, especially for beginners, all of those protection spells will work just fine. I don't think that you need to use them for every piece of magic that you do, but some witches do. So use your own intuition on that one. Do what feels right for you. Don't get so worried about, entities are going to attack me and I need all this protection. You don't. It's fine. You're going to be fine. You don't need to be taking a submachine gun with you every time you're going into your spiritual self. You just need to make sure you're wearing the right walking shoes and safety gloves, sort of thing. It's not. Magic is never that dangerous as long as you take it seriously. Just like fire is not dangerous if you take it seriously. Just like kitchen knives are not serious if you take them seriously. The important thing is that you treat them respectfully and use them properly. And that is the same with magical working. So join me on Monday for my next vlog. And what I do next week will largely depend on how quick I can edit things, because I'm having a chat with a friend that I'm going to be recording and talking to you about her business. She is amazing. Can't wait to have her on the channel. It might take me a little while to edit them though. I've got some crafty things coming up, and I've got a couple more witchy things planned as well. But I am a little bit undecided about what to do for my next witchy vlog. So if there is something that you specifically really want to talk about, do drop it in my comments or in my community posts, and I will do my best to research and come up with a decent answer for you. I do have a little list at the moment, but I am just prioritising the ones that people have asked about the most, because there is no set sort of course for learning magic. There's no particular order that you need to do things in. So I'm just doing things as and when they come up. But I think protection spells are a pretty good one for most beginners to learn. So I hope that you found that useful. If you can't wait until Monday to see me again, I will be here every single morning in your shorts. I'll be doing a great big deep breath, letting you know what I'm grateful for. I think I have pinned the video that explains why cultivating an attitude of gratitude is both good spiritual practice and good mental health practice. And I will also be here on a Witchy Wednesday doing an intuitive tarot card pull for you as well. You can book me for a private reading if you would like to. At time of filming, it is open at the moment, so you can book me for a private read. That doesn't go on YouTube, so you don't have to worry about me telling everybody your business. It will go directly to your email. You can also find everything else that I do in my link tree, which I'll put in the description. You can find my tarot card bookings in there, but you can also find all the books that I've written, including the collaboration that is in the process of coming out at the moment. We've got books 1 and 2 are out now, and I think book 3 is available for pre-order. You can find my Ko-fi on there where I put my artwork and it's looking for new homes. And you can find my Patreon where I do exclusive short stories and you get to see them before they come out anywhere else. So like and subscribe, or don't, I'm not your mum. Either way, you have yourself a magical week.